In physics, work is defined as how much force it takes to move something a certain distance. So if I have a box that takes 50 newtons of force to move and I want to move it a distance of 100 meters, then that's going to be 50 newtons times 100 meters, which is 5,000 newton meters, otherwise known as joules. But I can't make that much force, so what am I supposed to do? Hey, Bo, can you carry a brick up the ladder?
No.
No? Doesn't seem like very much fun?
Let me try.
Don't hurt yourself.
I need a brick. No, too heavy.
So humans innovated and made simple machines. The first one I want to talk about is the wheel and axle. Just the round wheel isn't the cool thing. But when you put the wheel on an axle and it's allowed to rotate, it reduces the friction between the surface of the ground and the object, which reduces the amount of force required to move it. And so like water wheels around an axle, dump trucks have a wheel around an axle, and they even make it easier for little kids to learn how to walk, like Bowen here with his little pusher. But how about if we needed to lift something off the ground? Like if you need a pail of water up in a treehouse, it's pretty hard to climb a ladder. Is it kind of hard?
Yep.
A pulley uses a wheel, an axle, and a rope chain or belt that allows you to pull in one direction and allow an object to move in the opposite direction. It actually reduces the force required by half to move the object, so super functional. As you can see here with Bo lifting the pail of water, he can do it with one hand.
Oh, that's cool.
Is that easier?
Yeah. Thanks, Bo.
And then lower down. Isn't that easier than carrying it down?
So much.
So we can use pulleys to lower and raise things, and they're what makes zip lining a good time. Woohoo! The next thing feels almost too simple to be a machine. The wedge is thick on one side and tapered on the other side, and we can use it to sort of like slowly lift and hoist things up like very, very big, heavy buildings. But we can also use it to just cut things, which is where we normally see it. Like a knife is a little bit thinner on one side and thicker on the other so that we can slice things open. Yummy. A nail also is considered a simple machine. It's a wedge because it's tapered on one side and fatter on the other. So when we nail it in, it'll stay put. The fourth type of simple machine, super common. We use less force over more distance to get the same amount of work done, and it's called a lever. I can't open a paint can using my fingers, but when I grab a paint opener, I can apply force at a greater distance away from the paint can, pivoted around a fulcrum that allows me to pop the lid right off. A teeter-totter is another fun thing that like Macy can't just like lift her brother up in the air like that, but pivoted at that fulcrum point, she can. Hinges allow us to lock things and also open doors. So you're able to grab the edge of the door farther away from that pivot point of the hinge and get it open and closed with much less force than will be required right next to the hinge. This grain mill is a lever that pivots on a fulcrum. When the water spills out of the bottom, it's able to raise back up and smash the grain on this stump. Now that you know what levers are, you're gonna find them everywhere, like on a clipboard, and when you get a drink at the gas station, when you close containers in the kitchen, and when you play with your favorite Christmas toy. There's also the real nutcrackers that are a different kind of lever, and tweezers, and kitchen tongs. Incline planes allow us to elevate objects by raising them up a little bit at a time over a long distance, like sliding a brick up a slide instead of carrying it up a ladder. Much, much easier. Like if I want to put this Christmas tree up in the attic, well, it's a good thing that there's little sleds on the ladder so I can just slide it up the incline plane. For the last simple machine, we wrap that spiral staircase around a cylinder and we get a screw. This can allow us to raise things up in tight spaces like in a spiral staircase, and it can also allow us to attach objects together, like when we screw a bottle cap onto its bottle, or when we use a screw to actually attach it down into a piece of wood. So I know you're thinking like, wait a minute, these are way too simple to be actual machines. And they are machines, but the ones we typically use add multiple of these components together to make compound machines, which is the next thing we're gonna learn about.